Hi there. The world is scary. Can I offer you a distraction? Salutations, fellow readers, writers, and killers of time on YouTube. My name is Martha Jones, and the world is scary. Therefore, as a bit of a public service, such as is my capacity to give it, I would like to use the androgynous sounds of my voice to share with you some old news. And not only do you have my permission to not take it seriously, you have my encouragement not to take it seriously. And that old news comes from a trivia column of the ancients under the penmanship of one L.M. Boyd. See, back when I was in high school, the most trusted name in broadcast news was probably Tom Brokaw, but in the rural Midwest where I grew up, the most trusted news outlet was still largely the local paper. And in those days, the news item that was freaking me out personally more than any other was the second U.S. invasion of Iraq. What seemed to me, at the time, like a pointless fight being picked by then-President George W. Bush. But in addition to the latest news concerning the military action, our local paper also contained the customary obituaries, ads, crossword puzzles, and gratuitously cute cartoons. And somewhere in the middle of the paper, between sports and landers, was L.M. Boyd. If by chance you are already aware of this column and are curious about the man behind the madness, Louis Malcolm Boyd was a journalist whose career started at the age of 16 for Stars and Stripes in the Korean War era. He acquired his trivia column in the 60s during the Vietnam conflict, and retired in 2004, something like a year after the USA went back to Iraq. And while L.M. Boyd was not the first spellbinder to lure me and thousands of readers away from serious topics to useless information land, he was the only one I knew by name at the time who could make a living there. Anyway, some years passed, the terror of that war came and went. I came into remembrance of this terribly silly but interesting column, and found that it, like other columns, has collections. And some of the information in this book has held up pretty well over the years. Question: how come you never see square beer bottles? Answer: square bottles are too weak at the corners to hold the pressure. Question: what's the difference in Dutch cheeses between Gouda and Edam? Answer: Gouda is fatter. Well, how do you get fatter if you don't eat 'em? There are rare people who know a face is a face when they see one, but don't know whose face it is, even the face in a mirror. The disorder is called prosopagnosis. Ketchup originated in Southeast Asia. However, the French historically have blamed the English for it and syphilis. You know, syphilis, the guy who rolled a bottle of penicillin up a hill every day just to have it roll back down again. That sort of human most likely to get a headache, according to the categorizers, is the young, well-educated woman. Actually, there's probably a couple reasons for that. High blood pressure causes headaches, and there's nothing that causes high blood pressure quite like not being taken seriously in your field. And for a lot of years, I have a headache was code for I am experiencing womanhood in its grossest form, leave me alone. The faces of astronauts bloat in space and their legs shrivel a little. At zero gravity, body fluids rise to the head. Question: what's the strongest expletive in the Bible? Answer: the devil take you. I think this must depend on your translation. The King James Version, for example, casually describes the male child as he who pisseth against the wall of Jerusalem. Said a Yellowstone ranger of mosquitoes, they're the only wildlife in the park you're allowed to feed. Madam, did your appearance improve after you got married? When pollsters put that query to a sizable sampling of ladies nationwide, most said yes. Sociologically, I wonder how that phenomenon occurred, because a lot of guys and gals joke about letting themselves go after they get married. But I wonder if, for those gals in the poll, the pressure to get married was inversely related to their self-esteem. If all the people in U.S. prisons lived in one place, they'd make a city almost as big as San Diego. I feel like now that sounds like wishful thinking. I'll bet it's closer to 2.5 New Yorks. Question: how long does it take mice to make love? Answer: 5 seconds. Best laid plan's my foot. Question: next to the United States, what country has the most Baptists? Answer: the Soviet Union. Question: what are incunabula? Answer: books printed but not handwritten before 1501. Flat fact, English has more words than any other language in the world. Yay, colonialism. Actually, I've heard that. My German teacher said she had a colleague who liked to write his papers in English, not German, despite English not being his first language, because English was so much more expressive. More words to pull from, you see. Said William Wrigley, when two men in a business always agree, one of them is unnecessary. Pollsters say they've proved that women generally spend more time in bed than men do. Bet it depends on the pollster. Every time you say something, your blood pressure goes up. Question: who got the first Medicare ID card? Answer: number 1, the late Harry S. Truman in 1966. Why don't you shine your shoes with the inside of a banana peel? That works, because my condom models have a union. Dracul in Romanian means devil. So in that real province called Transylvania, the name Dracula means son of the devil. Dracul is dragon, and A is the diminutive form of a Romanian noun. So Dracula is generally translated as son of the dragon, but it's actually more like little dragon. Teachers get more valentines than mothers. Yaks get sick at sea level. A camel has 3 eyelids on each eye. One medical scholar who believes the common cold is prompted by emotional conflict says you oftentimes can prevent an oncoming cold simply by having a good cry. Who is this medical scholar? I demand to know. Refresh my memory, please, fellow persons of a certain age. Was it just me, or did we all kind of show a collective lack of concern for journalists citing their sources before the turn of the century? Because in 2004, I probably could have used L.M. Boyd in a term paper as a reference and gotten away with it, because it's in the newspaper. It's gotta be true, right? Like clothing styles or housing trends, a nation's trivia can change a lot in 50 years. Nevertheless, I share this in part because it was a fun jaunt down memory lane that I wish to share with you, and partly as reassurance that for multiple generations of our existence, we as human beings have used distractions such as this as means by which to lighten our minds and hearts between red alerts. If you find yourself exhausted and in need of diversion, it doesn't necessarily mean you are selfish, and it doesn't necessarily mean that you are burying your head in the sand. The instinct to purposely seek out the sources of happiness and comfort in scary times is human, and part of what makes it feel like the present is worth surviving, so that we as humans and humanity might thrive in the future. As always, thank you for giving these videos a shot. I post whenever I can. Meantime, take it easy. Loves you. Bye.
Like my channel, buy my crap, doo-dah, doo-dah. There's no time to take a nap, oh the doo-dah day. Hey!